Hey, what's up everybody? This is David Michael from PassionateDJ.com, and I just wanted to give a quick video tutorial on some tips on how to do what I call event-driven DJing. In other words, these are some tips for playing things like fashion shows or anything where you might maybe have an announcer speaking or some events that happen over the course of the night that you need to react to. Um, this way you can kind of still maintain a flow even though you need to kind of interrupt your own set. I use this for fashion shows, and I also use it for a little like online streaming radio show that I do called Thursday Therapy, because unlike my sets that I play in a nightclub, I might bring the music down for a moment and say something like, hey, this is a really good track that a friend of mine produced, check it out, or just interact with my listeners in some way. So basically what I do, I'm going to use the fashion show example. I've got a little playlist called Fashion Show, and in here I've got all my kind of like four to the floor, simple dancey tunes that aren't too vocal heavy or anything. Stuff that the models can walk to and do their catwalk. So what I do is I actually go to a part of the song where there's maybe a breakdown or a build-up where there's not that doof, doof, doof happening. The kick drum drops out or something like that. So in this track on deck A, I found a spot that really works out pretty well right here. So this is just a little part of the breakdown, and I set a loop right before the kick drops in again. Okay, so it looks like this, and you'll notice that down here I've got the number 2 highlighted. That's because I've got a loop set there. When I set this loop, I clicked that 2, or I actually happen to be using an S4, and there's a 2 button, but you can use whatever controller you want to use here. But so that loop is always saved there. So anytime I play something like this, I just have these things already prepped. So I've got this loop set, and here's what it sounds like. And it's just going to loop that, pretty much indefinitely. So I kind of listen, it's going to depend on your particular event, but I listen for audio cues from like whatever announcer is talking or whatever. And so when they, in my case, they'll announce a different fashion designer. So they'll say, and our next line is brought to you by blah, blah, blah designs. And so when I start hearing that, I have this loop going, and I can keep this loop going for as long as they want to talk. And as soon as they're like, and here's our models, and then they start walking out, I jump out of the loop, I bring the volume all the way up, and it brings them right into the heavier part of the track that they can step to. So that way I'm always prepared. It's just one button away. Whenever they're ready to go, I jump out of the loop, and we're good. Now, another thing that I like to do is I have some like ambient, just kind of sound field kind of tracks that don't really have a whole lot to them. They're just kind of noise, and it's just to keep things going so that there's always sound happening. So this is one by Deep Chord that I like to use. And I use this for moments where there's a really long break where the music kind of needs to stop, but I don't want it to be awkwardly quiet. So I always have this one ready, or some track like it, so that they can do like, hey, we're going to break to do a raffle. So, it's for a longer, like 4 or 5 minute break instead of, playing the same loop for that long, because that would get irritating. So a lot of times I'll just, let me get to another part in the track here. So let's say this is playing. Then the announcer comes out and he says, okay, thank you so much to our models. That was such and such lineup. I'll slowly bring deck B in over here. if I know that I need a long break. Sometimes I'll filter it out to make it a little smoother like this. And I can let that play for as long as I need to. Now, obviously, I could set this up in a loop as well. Sometimes I like to actually get a little bit fancier than that. For you 4-deck users out there, I'll actually put this ambient track into my deck D down here, or deck C or D will work. And I like to set a loop that pretty much covers the entire track, and I just let it play all the time, and I just keep the volume down until I need it. So here at the beginning of the track somewhere, and I'm going to do this just kind of rough as an example, but maybe I'll do the loop in point here, and then I'll skip all the way to almost the end of the track and set the loop out point. Okay, and then I could set that as 2 or any of these loop buttons down here as well. So now I can just hit 2 on my controller and it jumps straight to that point in the track. Now I can leave this playing all the time, and I have it's on its own channel, its own fader, so I can just bring it in anytime I want, and that way it's just always ready. I don't have to rush and load it up. And so, let me get my tracks loaded here. Oh, whoops. Try that again. And now announcing such and such lineup by such and such person. I drop out of the loop. It's going to come straight into the kick. That was an accident, but you get the idea. Then I've got this track all ready to go. And maybe I've been mixing for 10 minutes or so, and then the announcer comes back out. I don't even need to worry about my decks A and B. I just fade in that 4th deck a little bit. Maybe filter that music out. Keep that ambient track playing for as long as I need to, get my next tracks ready, and then just slowly fade them or filter them back in when the models are ready, back into one of those loops, and you're good to go. Hopefully that was helpful. Just a real simple trick to help you out with your timing-sensitive, event-based DJing. Let me know what you think in the comments.